The first book that I'm going to be starting is going to be Good Girl, Bad Blood. This is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I read 2 months ago. I really liked that one, so I was kind of surprised that this was a trilogy. Like, I wasn't really sure how other books were going to relate to this, but this one is going to still obviously be following Pip. The true crime podcast that she did in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder really catapulted her. The podcast went viral, and yet Pip is saying that her sleuthing days are behind her. Someone that she knows ends up going missing and the police don't do anything about it, so of course Pip is left to do the investigating. Jamie Reynolds is the one who disappears on the same night that the town hosted a memorial for the 6-year anniversary of the deaths of Andy Bell and Sal Singh. To track Jamie down, Pip is following a trail of clues, and it seems like her town has even more secrets to discover. I went to go see Despicable Me with my sister, and it was actually a really good time. There were obviously a lot of children and their parents, but it was still nice to hang out with my sister. Because I had such a long commute, I read so much. I'm so glad. I read over 160 pages of Good Girl, Bad Blood so far, and I'm sad to say it's a little boring. She's doing her little sleuthing thing, and that's really cool, but I feel like this is so low stakes, and the case of this is really interesting, so I'm hoping that it's going to be a better reveal. I first didn't even realize who Jamie was. Jamie is the older brother of her friend Connor, and I was like,
who the fuck is Connor? Am I supposed to know who that is?
And I think he's part of the boys that are part of her friend group. I like totally forgot about him because the girls are so much more important, and the boys are like so off to the side. They don't hang out as much. And so it took me a while to piece things together, but I think that's who it is. She's starting a new podcast to look for Jamie, but he's only been missing for like 27 hours at this point. It feels really low stakes. I just don't really see or like understand why it's so dire. I'm hoping that I feel a lot more for Jamie as the story goes on. But the goal for today is to finish Good Girl, Bad Blood because I have a little less than 90 pages left of it. I don't know if this is interesting. I feel like this book didn't need to exist, so I'm a little bit worried about moving on to the third book also because I don't know what that one's going to be about. So Max Hastings from the first book, his trial's going on in this one, and in the new case with Jamie Reynolds, it seems like it's causing problems between Pip and her friends. Also, Aunt and Lauren are dating. There's a rift between them. The people aren't really believing Pip, and it feels a little bit rushed to do a kind of like a live podcast where you're editing it and releasing it on a weekly basis based on your findings, and it seems too rushed. A lot more people are involved. The comments that she's getting are more real time as opposed to getting it after the fact that it already happened and she knows what the results are, which I feel like is what she should do because people can listen to the podcast and become like a fake witness. It just feels like they're trying to pull drama out of something that didn't really need to, similar to how this book was created. I feel like I'm just not really enjoying it. I ended up not really liking this one. I'm giving it 2.5 stars. I was really eager to start this because of how much I enjoyed the first book, but I really felt like this was trying to force another book out when it didn't need to be. I think this could have just been a standalone, not even a series. It didn't feel like anything was happening until 40% of the way through, and then it picked up and then just fell right back down again. It wasn't really that entertaining, and I just was really disappointed. So I'm back in this world. This is my second book. This is from the Housemaid series. I read the first 2, I think, this year actually, and the third book, The Housemaid is Watching, has just come out also. I made sure to get on the holds list pretty early before the book came out. I would say I'm maybe like 30% of the way through. I kind of forgot how annoying Millie is. They're doing some renovations downstairs, so sorry if it's loud. Millie is now 40 years old. She has 2 kids. She has moved to the suburbs and bought a new home, like her dream home. She is meeting her neighbors and she feels like she's being watched at night. Although her darkest secrets, her past life she has left behind, she feels like this quiet street that she has just moved on to could be the most dangerous one of all. I'm not really sure what like the mystery or the thriller aspect is going to be, but it's interesting being back in a world where I think when we met Millie, she was in her like mid-20s and now she's in her 40s. She has 2 children. She's not very maternal and like still coming to terms with this. I kind of don't like her. I forgot.
I'm home now repacking my things for my last week to spend with the cats. I actually finished The Housemaid is Watching on the train ride home, and I returned it on my way back because it was overdue, I realized. What a mess. I think I'm giving this book like 2 stars. It felt like very, even more so domestic than the other 2 books were. It just felt like this book was so unnecessary. It felt like she was just trying to, the author Frieda McFadden was just trying to hang on to how well The Housemaid did originally, because I think it like really blew up on TikTok. Part 3 went into a different POV and it moved back in time to the initial move to kind of explain the flow of things from a different POV, obviously, and it just was so ridiculous. Like, this didn't need to be a book at all. I think there definitely shouldn't be another one, but it also means that I have one book down. The epilogue was also in like a completely different POV, really trying to hang on to that housemaid portion of it, and the crime just like, it was obviously really awful about what was going on. It just really felt like she was trying to make something out of nothing. I have the ebook of another series that I'm in the middle of, Amulet. The last one that I'm reading right now is called Waverider. I'm only like 3 pages into it. Maybe I'll read that for my train ride home. I think it's the last one, maybe. I'm not really sure how this series is going to wrap up. I'll talk more about it when I get home.
I started this series this year, actually. I was kind of like head empty reading it just to kind of figure out what would happen. I didn't realize that this series had been out for a really long time, and the last book was finally published after a 6-year gap. It seems like not a lot of people, like fans who followed this series a long time, really liked this book either. One review even said that it seems like Kibuishi stopped caring about this series a while ago, which is so awful. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. Like I said, it's just kind of middle in the road. It's also like middle grade, so yeah. Today I'm going to be starting Just for the Summer, which is the 3rd book in the Part of Your World series. This book just came out. It was getting a lot of hype. People really love Abby Jimenez. I just really was unsure about whether or not I wanted to read it, but I figured that I should just keep up with the series since it just came out this year, and if I'm done with it, I can just be done with it and put it down as a series that I never want to continue again. People do seem to really like this one. I know it's between Emma and Justin. It seems that both Emma and Justin feel as if they are cursed, and that whoever they broke up with, the next person that their ex dates ends up being like the one that they marry. They're posting on this Reddit thread that Justin created called Love's Good Luck Charm, and it's gone viral. The two come up with this plan to fake date, I guess, to date each other, to break their curses. Their idea is that their curses would cancel each other out and they would break up and go on to find their soulmate. You can already tell how I feel about this book, but I'm starting this today. I'm going to be reading it in another vlog as well, so hopefully I will remember to update this one correctly. I am over 50% of the way through of Just for the Summer. I was able to read so much, and I'm not feeling any of the sparks. I don't see anything special about Justin or Emma individually or together. It is supposed to be just the summer fling because they are supposed to have 4 dates and 1 kiss and then break up. There's definitely a huge attraction. They're getting really attached. Emma's best friend Maddie, who she's traveling with and is also a travel nurse, seems to think that Justin is really falling in love with Emma, which I guess in terms of the timeline of this book isn't surprising, although they've only had 2 dates and no real kiss. They've had a forehead kiss and a non-open mouth kiss that made Emma weak in the knees. There's also a lot of family drama. Justin is suddenly in custody of his 3 young siblings. He is 28 years old with a 48-year-old mother. Emma's mom also had her really young at 18. I feel like this series, calling this a companion series, is even a stretch because the only relation is that Benny, Brianna's brother, I think, from the 2nd book, is in this, but like barely. He's kind of like this afterthought. It was kind of just casually thrown in there that Benny sees Justin's mom as an aunt also, although he's barely in this, and it seems that Justin's fake best friend-ish guy, Brad, his mom is a lot closer to Justin's mom, and it doesn't seem like Benny's mom is close to them at all. So he just feels like kind of like this little diversity hire in the book, which is annoying. I'm also like reading this with a really large grain of salt because I already don't really like Abby Jimenez anymore. I don't really like her romances, so I'm kind of just reading this to read this. I
I am reading more and more of this. I'm doing a video right now. I think you'll see it maybe next week where I'm not using my laptop for a week and seeing how much I could read. I'm reading a lot. I think I'm getting like the good parts of Justin. I'm seeing Emma becoming less defensive. She has a lot of barriers around her heart because her mother was a very toxic person currently in her life. She neglected her a lot as a child, so she was raised by Maddie's moms. She has a really difficult time of accepting the fact that her mom is a shit because she wants her to finally be able to step up and say, hey, I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry I was like this. I'm sorry I'm like this. I think she really needs to cut her out of her life. I think it's interesting that her mom, Amber, is dating Neil, who is from the first book in this series. He was like this terrible, toxic ex as well. I think he was like emotionally abusive also, so I don't know if I'm loving his story arc of becoming a better person and why he's like so involved in this book also. Brianna and Benny from the second book are in this, as well as Jacob for like a little bit. Brianna still is like, oh, Neil's an asshole, had to bring that up. I don't know if I'm loving it. I think I like Justin and Emma a little bit more now, but also I'm like basically 60% of the way through of this book, so hopefully I would have liked him. Unsure of my rating, but it's definitely not going to be 4 stars as of right now. Yesterday I was able to finish Just for the Summer on the train because I didn't fall asleep. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. I think what was bumping it up for me a little bit, like this easily could have also just been 2.5 stars, but what was bumping it up for me was Emma and the work on herself that she was deciding to do on her mental health. She decided to make some sacrifices, be a little bit selfish to like better herself in the long run, which I think was the right choice. I was reading the author's note and then the reader's guide. Abby Jimenez was answering some questions at the end on like the choices that she made. I'm being vague just because I don't want to spoil anything. I think overall they definitely needed that, or Emma needed that, and Justin kind of also needed to figure out his footing with his siblings and raising them. I think the ending I did appreciate for the most part. Maybe I'm a cynic because the last romance I read was also 2 stars and wasn't really seeing it. Now I can say that I'm done with this series, so I'm really glad. I'm gonna go into my notes app now and see what series I can check off. Like I said in my intro, I at the moment have 35 series that I'm in the middle of. I can check off Part of Your World. Boom. Done. What else did I read here? Housemaid is Watching. Boom. Done. I also did finish Waverider. What's the first book I read for this video? I was mixing it up because I didn't actually finish the series yet. I had only read the second book in the series, so that was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. But I already do have it checked off right here, so I do have the third book out from the library right now, so I think I can work on doing the second part of this video already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.